What's going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk about what I would do if I was broke heading into 2026. And when I say broke, I do mean, wanting to make more money, but also broke in terms of time, broke in terms of freedom. And I don't even know if broke is the right word as I'm saying all of this. It just seemed clickbaity enough for the title. I was more so just thinking when I sat to write this thing, like if I was somebody who's doing something that they did not like, that they definitely didn't want to do long term, and I had to start completely from scratch, what advice would I give to that person? So to paint you guys a picture, this is an AI slop version of Dan and just like a regular 9-to-5 job. And the money's okay. Like all the bills are paid. He definitely wants to make more money than he's currently making. But more importantly, he just does not enjoy his life. He's staring at the computer screen, looking at the clock in the top right-hand corner, wondering if it's frozen because it's not moving to 5 p.m. quick enough. He's wondering if his boss is going to approve that PTO that he put in a couple weeks ago to spend more time with his family over the holidays. The fluorescent light that keeps buzzing above him is driving him a little bit insane. He's just wondering like, okay, what I'm doing right now, could this be replaced by AI? And shit, how many different ways can I pretend to work while I'm actually just looking at my fantasy football lineup heading into the playoffs? You guys kind of get the picture. And when I was writing this, ironically, I was sitting outside of a coffee shop in an obviously affluent area with tons of online entrepreneurs just out and about walking around, a couple that I knew that I said what's up to. You know, $8 lattes, $12 cold pressed juices, a man behind me miserably failing to parallel park his Lamborghini for like 15 minutes. But I tried my best to picture this broke Dan in a parallel universe. Assuming he had zero credibility, no business, and no skills when it comes to making money online, what advice would I give to him? Now, obviously, I'm going to tell him to start a business just because of all the positive ways that it's impacted my life. Money, location freedom, making my own schedule, all that is great, but it's also just led me to become much more of a competent person, in my opinion. Much more capable of dealing with stress, people, making decisions quickly. All of those things are huge byproducts and benefits, especially if you're younger, trying to get into a business, or if you're older. But what type of business would I start and where do I start? Like that's what I'm gonna be breaking out today. If you guys are new here, my name is Dan Crowley. I'm one of the co-founders and head of sales at Ascension and Listkit, where I manage a team of 10 closers, bringing in over $1 million per month. And first off, I would definitely tell broke Dan to start an agency or some service business, bar none. Like the reason I prefer agencies personally over some other type of service business is just because it gives you that location freedom, which I travel a lot. I really enjoy that. Your hiring pool is the entire world, and it's also B2B. So when we're looking at solving the money piece, in my opinion, it's just so much easier to solve that while selling to businesses as opposed to consumers. Now, if broke Dan doesn't have capitals or skills yet, that's fine because he has time. And people love dunking on the agency model because they trade time for money, but that's exactly why the agency model works when you're just starting out. And number one, it doesn't have to be your time at scale. That's how you scale the business, is by removing yourself from these different processes. And two, even if you are starting from scratch, AI can drastically shrink the amount of time that it takes to do so many agency deliverables these days. Now, I wouldn't tell them to start a coaching business, even though I do that now first because you need credibility in order to do that. I definitely want to tell them to start a software company, or I want to tell them to go after this big moonshot idea that he has that's going to change the world. Why? Because what does broke Dan have? He has time, right? An agency can let you turn time into money, effort into client results, and skill into income. Where, like I said, coaching requires credibility. Beginners don't have that yet. Software is just a completely different ballgame. Like there's way more complexity, way more moving parts, and it's much more difficult to build a product. Whereas when you start your agency, you essentially are the product. And that moonshot idea that may actually be a great idea, but if you just don't know how to run a business yet, someone who does know how to execute on it much faster and better than you could is going to eat you alive. Like Elon Musk wasn't the first or only guy to think of electric cars. He didn't even start Tesla. He just took it and was such a high level operator coming into it that from his previous experiences, he was able to take that, scale it to the moon, and virtually take over that entire market. And like something like starting a personal brand or trying to become an influencer, like starting a personal brand is always a good idea, but I think it's a very bad idea if that's going to be your entire income. It's very difficult to make money from that unless you know how to monetize a small audience by also owning an offer. Now, another big benefit to the agency model is that it also happens to be high ticket, meaning broke Dan is only a couple of clients away from being just Dan. It's like in the social network where he's like, hey, he's like, drop the broke, just Dan. So today I'm gonna be breaking down exactly how I'd approach it if I had no money, no credibility, and no audience. So point one, pick something with active demand. Like stop trying to be clever. The first thing I would do is pick something that businesses are already buying. Not a brand new idea, not something innovative, not a moonshot. If it's your first business, I firmly believe that innovation is overrated. If an idea is truly brilliant and it's your first go around, you usually just get swallowed up by the competition. I want to be thinking, okay, what are businesses hiring for? What do they already spend money on? And then I'm going to go with something that has proven active demand in the market right now that can make businesses more money. Because when you're selling B2B, there's very few reasons that somebody's going to buy it. And it's almost always going to be because in some way, shape, or form, it's going to make them more money. So what are a couple examples of that? Paid ads, lead generation, content marketing, e-com email marketing, AI automations. I could list a ton more, but these are just a few, for example. Now, this is not the time, broke Dan, to spend all day thinking about what offer should I start with. The only wrong move is none at all and not getting started. Now, I know plenty of business owners, plenty of agency owners specifically that do 6 figures a month, some that do over 7 figures a month, and none of them that I know are doing the same exact thing they did when they first started. They just got started in the game, and naturally you come across these opportunities, or you build a unique skill set, or you start working really well with this vertical specifically, but you don't spend all the time doing mental masturbation at the beginning trying to figure out what that looks like already, because you can't know until you actually do it. Like every single one of these guys, every single one has tweaked their offer over time, added multiple offers, which is a great way to increase LTV, or change your offer entirely. So like it doesn't matter which one you start with, and it doesn't have to be one of these even. This is just for example, just pick one and go. Now, quick pause in action before I get into exactly what I would do if I was starting from scratch and tell you all this absolutely for free on the YouTube channel. If you're interested in doing everything I'm going to talk about with one-on-one accountability, coaches who are actively running successful businesses, those 6-figure agency owners that I mentioned, proven client acquisition strategies, a super active community of people just doing the same exact thing, AI workflows for fulfillment and more, just check out Client Ascension's AI assisted agency program. It's real consulting. It's not a course. Like we've got a staff of 39 people, and we work with people who are starting from scratch all the way up to multiple 6 figures a month. So even if you've gotten started, but it's not scaling at the level that you want it, hit us up. One of my clients, Lori, he just recently went from $0 to $250,000 in revenue in just 15 months. So if you're interested in learning more about what the strategy looks like, click the link below to learn more about it. All right, back to it. Point 2, once you pick something, I want you to become a noticer, even before you become an expert. And here's where a lot of beginners screw up. They obsess about delivery before they even have clients, right? Pick something, make the commitment, knowing that you can change, you probably will change over time. But realize like, okay, I don't need to be an expert at whatever I just selected. Yeah, you're better off obsessing over why your offer works, how it works, why the person who's making 6 figures a month is doing so well with it. Like I want you studying what works. For example, if I was an ads agency owner, I want to obsess over clicking buttons inside of the Facebook ads manager. I'd obsess over what strategies are working right now and study the patterns of successful funnels. Why do I keep seeing this certain ad? Like if you see an ad nonstop, the business is obviously making money for it. They're not just running it for shits and giggles. Why are certain offers doing so well? Like what's the psychology behind this winning offer? Why businesses keep paying for this, right? Like, okay, why don't people just take this internally? Like what logistical intensity are these ad agencies doing that people consistently pay them as opposed to just bringing this all in house? So you need to stop consuming content like a normal person and start noticing. Like you're no longer a consumer eating chips on the couch, broke Dan. You're looking at ads to study them. You're watching content to understand why it has millions of views as opposed to just being one of the brain dead millions of views, right? Like peel back the hood, just open your eyes instead of doom scrolling, like actually think, because if you're somebody using something like TikTok without realizing that, hey, oh, this thing is free, but not realizing that you are the product being sold to other businesses in the version of, eyeballs on whatever product that you're looking at, you're just not thinking like a business owner. You need to just start to actively notice all of the things around you. Pick up the cold call that you get every so often. Check your email. You're not drooling, watching a Sydney Sweeney jeans ad or arguing online about whether it's racist or not. You're thinking about, okay, so you can either test ads at a super high velocity to make them work or invest tons of resources into a very few amount of high quality ads like this one to see incredible ROAS and look at what it did to their stock. Like that's how you're thinking now. This is your new life, Dan. I don't care if you have to talk to ChatGPT for 12 hours a day asking, hey, why does this work? What psychology is being used here? What book explains this concept better? Go get the book, go read the book. That's how you shortcut years of trial and error and learn through others. Because I want broke Dan to get to where he wants to go as quick as humanly possible, right? Which you don't have to learn everything through trial and error. You can learn it through others. Now, next thing I want you to do is over-index on client acquisition, because this is the real game. Once you pick what to sell, you're starting to notice things. I want you to immediately just obsess over how to get clients. Not fulfillment, not branding, not perfect systems, client acquisition. It's the number one thing. Lead generation and sales, right? How do I get leads? How do I close leads? I've met very few people who have figured out how to get clients that didn't end up making a ton of money. And most people fail because they get stuck in this like figuring it out phase for too long. Not because they're not hard workers, right? I think that's a super common misconception. It's like, why do most businesses fail? It's not, because business owners are lazy. Most people who are lazy wouldn't have taken the initiative to start a business. They just get stuck in this figuring out phase where it's like, hey, I'm figuring out what to sell. I'm figuring out how to get clients results. I'm figuring out how to deliver without working 80 hours a week. Well, one is already done because you pick something with active demand, figuring out what to sell. 2 is where people have the most trouble. And we're going to talk about 3 in a couple minutes here. But if you know how to get clients, if you can master that second part, you're never going to be broke again, period. Sales is half of client acquisition. So obviously watch everything on my channel, start to watch other sales channels, just get good at that specifically. Another half is lead generation, right? And this is where I'd spend the majority of my time early on. Next point, learn to sell even before you worry about fulfillment. So like I said, half of client acquisition and sales. So selling can be one of the biggest differentiators early on, especially if you're doing something that other people are already doing because it has active demand. A lot of times they may talk to 5 or 6 different ads agencies or 5 or 6 different lead gen agencies. And the one that wins oftentimes isn't always the one with the best offer or even the best client results. It's a lot of times just the person who actually knows how to sell. If you don't know how to sell, none of this matters because you're not collecting any revenue. You're going to shut down the business pretty soon. And a lot of people right at the beginning, which I don't want broke Dan to make this mistake, shy away from sales before they even get started because they're too intimidated selling to business owners who have more experience than you, have more money than you, have been doing this a lot longer than you. On top of that, business owners only want to work with people of similar or higher status than them. So you may sit there thinking, well, I'm fucked then because I'm as low on the totem pole as I could possibly imagine, but you're not. Right? It's just because people were just starting out, they only currently value money as it pertains to business. So when it comes to status, it's like whoever is making the most money is winning. Well, that's really not true, right? Like you don't need to be higher status of them in terms of money, success, whatever. You need to be higher status in the domain that you're selling. That's it. And you'd be surprised how little some business owners know about marketing, sales, et cetera. It's so common to find, a restaurant owner who may be killing it and has 6 locations that has no idea how to run ads, or somebody who's grown really, really, really fast off of organic and does a great job with their service, but they really don't know anything about sales. So they trip up when they're trying to go to cold traffic. Like there's so many different versions of this, right? So although that people don't want to work with their inferior because this isn't a charity, it's, it's business and a capitalist society. So long as you can position yourself as an expert for solving that specific problem, you're golden. Right. And if you get a huge business on the phone, don't treat their problems like they're special snowflakes. Right. It's usually just the same problems that pop up over and over again, just at different scales. And you're a problem fixer. Right. So realize it, come in with that mindset and just embrace sales as early on as possible. The sooner the better. Once again, just shout out to my own channel and all the other good sales channels that are out there. Now, before I continue, once again, on that topic of getting good at sales, I have a full guide on how to close over 40% of your leads from cold traffic. Link below, completely free. Sign up for that. Grab it. Lots of value. Anyways, 5th point. Now, you still may be thinking, but why would somebody even trust me if I've never done this before? Which honestly, fair, they probably won't. You need to bridge that trust gap. And how do you do that? Well, one, just good sales skills is going to help you out a lot. But then making your offer no-brainer can kind of close the gap if you're not all the way there when it comes to sales, if you're still pretty beginner, which is fine. You're going to be a work in progress if you're a beginner. But as you're working on sales and as you're kind of doing that process of just improving, here's how you can make your offer a no-brainer. I was not expecting this second AI slop image, but it's usually with guarantees on your offer. So you have performance-based guarantees. Hey, we'll get you this many calls, this many clients, or you don't pay, this many views, or you don't pay, whatever. You have satisfaction-based guarantees, right? So if they're not satisfied, they can continue. There's an out clause, whatever that may look like. Obviously, if they're not happy with things, then great. Then you have implicit guarantees, which would just mean if I work on performance, I don't need to have another guarantee. It's already, if I'm not performing, you simply won't pay, right? Now, I remember just stepping back into an earlier version of myself when I was selling business owners. I was young, I was in college. So it was pretty common that I would get that little smirk from the prospect. Do you have any case studies from here? I mean, no offense, you kind of look like a kid. And we were selling cold email specifically. And the most common way that conversation would go would be, yeah, I know, just getting started out. But we do a really good job of getting and closing leads from cold traffic. And I guess, how did I get you on the call today? Well, you sent me a cold email. And do you think your prospects are that much more sophisticated than you, or do they also run a business, check their email? No, they do, Dan. Okay, so I guess what reasons are you seeing that makes you think that this wouldn't work for your offer? And they're like, yeah, well, good point. And then to just further close the gap, because I don't have those case studies that he's looking for yet, we're working on performance. So if I can just get him to see hey, logically, I know that it works because this is how I got you on the phone. And if your business owners that you target aren't any different, great, should work, right? And I make a fair argument. So that's where sales is doing some of the heavy lifting. And I kind of close the gap with just having a performance-based offer. You don't need these things forever because really they're marketing and sales things, right? So I want you to think of this as a scale. If you can kind of see my hands here, it's the less credibility, less sales skills you have, the more you need guarantees. Now, the more case studies you have, the more sales skills, the less you need to rely on guarantees. And because they are a marketing and sales tactic, it's really something that you can use as a crutch, but it doesn't have to be a permanent crutch for your offer forever, right? Especially as that kind of tips the scales where you're okay, I'm much better at sales now and I have the results to back it up. I don't need to promise anybody these things. Now, all that's great. Talk a lot about client acquisition, sales. Let's talk about delivery a little bit more. So first off, when you land your first client, don't freak out. Just lock in. You are a service provider. It's not pulling a rabbit out of the hat. It's just providing a service. If you can use a computer, work hard, and actually care about your client results, you can deliver, right? And that's the funny thing about agencies. Like I said, you're just a service provider at the end of the day. The people who I see kill it, they genuinely do care about getting their clients' results. They genuinely are there to help people, to serve people. So if that's something that you would enjoy, hey, I would love to help other businesses make more money. Cool. That's just another kind of check mark and green light to go for this type of business model. Now, in the beginning, it's going to be you pulling all the levers, and that's fine. But once you start noticing, hey, where's my time going and how much time I spend on this and that's where I'm going to leverage AI. And first off, I'm just going to automate repetitive tasks. I'm going to speed up copywriting. I'm going to build simple workflows with something like N8N or Poppy. And obviously just looking at it with, okay, I kind of already understand anything, but the goal is to take this task that took me 20 to 30 hours previously and turn it into 3 or 4 hours, or something that took me 5 hours and collapse it to 15 minutes. But I do think it's probably better after you understand how it works. So either do it all, understand how it works, or join a program that helps you watch trainings so you do understand how it works. But I'm just a big believer that if you're building something, you should probably understand every part of it before scaling. Like that's why I love coaching, both as a coach and as a student. Like I just recently invested $15K into a different coaching program. I just think you're always gonna be better off if you understand these things from first principles and don't have tons of third-party dependencies. Like the more you can own, probably the better there. But AI is fantastic for doing a lot of these agency deliverables like copywriting, building out a funnel, workflows, et cetera, right? Now, once I've done all of this, right? I'm mainly just, I got my offer, kind of chose it. I'm focusing on getting good at client acquisition, lead gen and sales specifically. Signed my first client. Okay, cool. I'm figuring out where is my time going and figuring out how to automate that as much as possible. But now it's probably time to look like a real company. And what the minimum viable setup here looks like, it's pretty bare bones. But it's really all you need. I mean, for us, when we were scaling our agency up to 6 figures a month, we never had anything more than just a literal ClickFunnels page as a website. We just big old headline, VSL, and that was pretty much it. I mean, as we started to stack case studies, we put it beneath there, but it wasn't anything fancy. It's not about being fancy. It's more so just about being credibility, so that if somebody does see this YouTube video you put out, or this cold email from you, or this personalized DM that you just sent over, when they do go to look you up, it's like, okay, I've alleviated that concern of like, is this person a scammer? So all you need is just a simple landing page, just clear, professional, focus on your no-brainer offer. Less is more here. Like, don't write tons of copy, just make it pretty simple. A Loom, walking through a Gamma doc like I'm doing literally right now, and just make a VSL, just show your process and expertise visually. Even if you don't have case studies, once again, realizing that you're starting from scratch, like position yourself as an expert, talk about the problems that your target market are dealing with, talk about how you address those problems, like give away a lot up front. You're almost like speed running a sales call, just talking about all the different things that you do, all the things that you take off this business owner's plate to get them what they actually want, which is making more money. And just throughout the rest of the site, just have like a very clear explanation of what you do and who you do it for. Like there should be no confusion as I'm scrolling through things about the value proposition, which is why a lot of times less is more. Pretty simple. That's it. Bare minimum effort, maximum clarity. So once again, starting from scratch, if I was broke heading into 2026 or just wanted to do something other than what I was doing, I would pick something with active demand. I'd become a noticer, as I talked about it. I would over-index on client acquisition, get really good at lead gen and sales. I'd make my offer a no-brainer when needed with guarantees. I would deliver, and then I would optimize with AI. And then just don't stop, dude. It's like the whole point, like I said in the beginning, the only move that you can make that would be the wrong move would be none at all. Once you actually do get in motion, now the only move that you can make that's actually going to kill the business is you literally stopping, right? You watch Alex Ramo's videos if you want to hype yourself up about that, but it is very true. You just got to keep going. It takes some people 10 years to scale up to where they want to be. It takes some people 10 months. That's just kind of how it works out. But the common thread between both of them is they just didn't quit. They ended up getting there. Anyways, next video. Not sure what it is. Let's just put the thing on the screen. See if they want to watch that as well. Cool, guys. Appreciate it. Peace.